Greetings, everyone. This is Professor Theo. Just wanted to touch bases with you all right quick with this video over the forum discussion for number 4. This week, the question was, the textbook explains that similarities and characteristics are important factors in forming intercultural relationships. In other words, we know it's important in all relationships that we have some things in common. But the question is, how about differences? Can differences in characteristics be a positive factor? Why and why not? So sometimes we allow differences to get in the way. We allow differences to keep us from forming relationships. We allow differences from keep us from maintaining relationships. And the more we focus on those differences, some things can come up that damage the relationship. But the question is, does differences always have to be a negative thing? Can it sometimes be a positive thing? Here's some of your responses. Someone said that some certain differences can be deal breakers for relationships, so having some similarities are very important, but it's also important to seek certain differences out in order to form strong relationships. What I gathered from that particular response is, of course, similarities are important. You want to be with someone who you have some things in common, like-minded, equally yoked, the Bible talks about. I like doing this, you like doing this. Here's some shared beliefs, some shared values that we have. And certain differences may be, for some, certain differences as far as religion, for some far as certain differences as far as stances on certain issues like abortion or how we view race. Some of those major differences can be deal breakers. All things being equal, you would want to be with someone who shares those beliefs with you, and if you find out that a friend or a potential partner has those differences, it could be a deal breaker. But what this person also says is that sometimes we need to seek out differences in order to formulate some strong relationship. There's some value in difference. There's some value in diversity. Someone else wrote, opposites do attract. With just the right of investment and flexibility, it's not unheard of to have relationships be successful, although you had opposites that attracted. So that depends, you know. So sometimes I say that opposites attract, but that don't necessarily means those opposites stay together. It may be something about this person that they're different and you find it very attractive, but the deeper you grow in your walk with that person, you may find out that those same things that you found attractive and romantic, that you romanticize and fascinating, may also become some points of contention. But what this person says, with investment, flexibility, hard work, you can work through those differences. I think about the fact, all in all, that Jesus had a lot of stuff in common with us, but there were some major differences also. He was God, we were just human. He was sinless, we were sinful. So if he just focused on the major differences and allowed those differences to keep him from connecting with us, then we'd be in a lot of trouble. Someone else said, first off, the differences is what makes this kind of intercultural relationship intercultural. And in along that same vein, someone says that different characteristics are in many ways essential to diversity. And lastly, along that same lines, when we acknowledge difference, we learn something about ourselves and the other person. What these three individuals were touching on was the fact that, can we say something's truly cross-cultural, intercultural if everything's the same? Can we really say that we are gaining valuable, diverse knowledge if everyone's the same? Everyone has the same thoughts. If everyone enjoys the same food, does the same thing, dresses the same way. We miss out on the richness that is that diversity. So I think about anytime we develop a colorblind ideology, I don't see color, or I don't see certain specific characteristics of a person, I just see them as a person. What we end up doing, unbeknownst to us, although we may have great intentions, is we may end up devaluing that person. We may end up communicating to that person that that particular identity, whether it's their gender or their race is not that important. I don't see that. All I see is you, but part of who they are those identities. That's very important that we acknowledge that. And so differences are important. The key is not to hold the differences against each other. I think that's the sentiment behind being colorblind. You're saying, I'm not going to hold your race against you. And in order to not hold it against you, I'm not going to count it at all. And that ends up doing a disservice. Someone says the old saying is that if two people are too much alike, they won't get along. Another way of saying it, there was someone who told me once that all sun makes a desert. So we need some rainy days. It can't just be all sunshine, because then you have a desert eventually. So there's need for some different weather patterns. Same thing with people. If you're surrounding yourself only with people who look like you, talk like you, believe the same things you do, you're going to miss out on some great opportunities. Now, there would be a time to circle the wagons, I guess, and insulate yourself and surround yourself with like-minded individuals. So we're not saying make sure everyone in your intimate circle is different. There are some core factors that in order to be on the same page, you want to be equally yoked. You want to surround yourselves with some people who have some of the same beliefs, some of the same values, some of the same attitudes as you. But by and large, you want to also interact with other people who may be different. And the key is not to see different as being less than, as being wrong, which is a mentality that we've often adopted, that when someone is different, when someone has a different view, we just don't see it as different. We see it as wrong. What our view is the right view, and your view is not only a different view, it's the wrong view. And of course, that's not a healthy view. Someone says, for the most part, I believe that differences are the keys to furthering our knowledge and advancement towards the future. Not everyone has the same passion, beliefs, life expectancy. That's important. Someone else said, I believe that we have more differences than similarities, but from my experience, similarities open the door and start the relationship, while differences have the ability to keep the door open and grow the relationship. That's a very interesting one. But it makes sense that you're out and about somewhere, maybe you're in a class, maybe in a social setting, maybe you're visiting another country, and all of a sudden you see someone who's speaking your language. And that could be literally they're speaking English, or it could just be like they're saying the types of things that resonate with you. You see someone who looks like you. You see someone who dresses like you. You see someone who, overhearing the conversation, you find out you have some similar interests. That attracts you to that person. It opens up the door of the relationship. Hey, I couldn't help but overhear you're speaking English. I'm from America also. And then you kind of connect. Or you're in a class and someone tells a story and you find out you're from the same state or the same hometown, and you connect. So it could be those similarities that opens the door. What this person is saying, to grow the relationship, it's also important to acknowledge that there are some differences that exist also. That it's not just those similarities, but there are some differences, especially when it comes to complimenting one another, which was someone says later on, that you want to have some differences, especially when those differences are things that you're lacking in. And so maybe if you're looking at it in terms of my best friend, Ryan Fleming and I, he's a white guy. We travel around, we speak about racial reconciliation. We've spoken here, we've spoken abroad. We just recently spoke at a church. And we were using the passage 1 Corinthians 12, and which talks about the many parts but one body. And we were breaking down how sometimes that passage is misinterpreted as saying that we're called to be the same in Christ. Whereas no, the passage talks about being one in Christ. And oneness is not the same as sameness. And another way of saying that is we're called to be unified, but unity is not the same as uniformity. We're different parts of the body, but the same body. Hand, feet, eyes, ears. And it's the beauty is in that diversity. The beauty, not just aesthetically, but the beauty as far as functionally. The body would not be the function to its capacity if we were all hands and all feet and all eyes. And so sometimes in relationships, whether it's marriages, sometimes whether it's in teams, whether it's with your coworkers and families, you want to be in relationships where the differences that you have complement one another. They fortify each other. So I'm weak in one particular area. Maybe my wife is strong in that other area. Maybe I'm on a team where I'm strong in that area. We have someone else who's weaker in that area, but they're strong in a different area. And then when we come together, we are able to be a strong body, a strong unit, a strong team, a strong family, because not only do we have some differences, but just so happens the differences help to compensate and cover up some of the weaknesses that we may have in the body. All right, so this has been a forum on discussion forum number 4. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving break. Reminder, if you hadn't seen that announcement yet, that the paper that was supposed to be due on this Friday is now due next Friday. And the Intercultural Strategy Guide, which was going to be due later on, is no longer due. What that does is it frees you up to really focus on this interview. I want you to take your time and do the interview right. It's going to be very important. A lot of the students really get a lot of this because they interview someone and they find out some things that they didn't know before about certain cultures. And so I really want you to be able to focus on that, but I also want you to be able to focus on your family over a break. I don't want you to be at Thanksgiving dinner, have to wolf down the food and then say, I got to go work on this interview, I got to get this discussion done, things of that nature. So please put all the work aside for this particular class. I can't speak for other classes, but for this class, please, I encourage you just to take a couple of days off. Just spend time with family and friends, get some good eats and watch some TV and Netflix and relax and all that good stuff, and then we'll hit the ground back running, maybe on Sunday or Monday, and then we'll finish up the semester strong. All right, take care. God bless.